Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com, and we're here today in Ohio City, and we're talking with Alan Glazen, developer and former ad guy, and Peter Pattakos, who is an attorney. You guys are representing a group called the Coalition Against the Sin Tax. So, Alan, could you just sort of state your case? Because obviously this sin tax here is a renewal of a tax to support the maintenance of our basketball, football, and baseball stadiums. Why are you guys against it?
We are very, very concerned that we're rushing into committing $300 million over 20 years to teams that aren't even committed to be here as long as that. And we don't have any answers about whether this money would even cover the basic expenses that we're required to do. We're going too fast. We have no answers to the questions. We believe that we would run out of money before we even met our obligations. We need time to look at options.
So, Peter, why was this time not spent? Why did the county council go ahead and sort of rush this through, if that's what you're saying, without really analyzing the who's and the whys and the whats about this?
Well, I think that's a great question, Tom, and I think that one of the reasons and one of our concerns is that this is just inertia. We're just doing this because it's the way that things have always been done. And what happened is that this was rushed through. This has been pushed onto the ballot without any meaningful examination of just what the public's obligations are to finance the private businesses of these pro sports owners. No meaningful examination of that, and no meaningful examination of other alternatives to a sin tax. There are other seemingly obvious alternatives to a sin tax, such as a facilities fee. Why can't the actual users of the facilities pay a few extra dollars per ticket? Or how about a regional tax that will account for the fact that more than 50% of the users of these facilities end up are from outside of the county. So,
Alan, what happens here if this does not pass? Because this could be an issue. If this tax doesn't pass, they're saying maybe the teams have an opportunity to sue and break their lease and move out of town, or it's going to drain the general fund. I mean, what is the option here if we don't have this tax?
Well, there's a veiled threat here that if this doesn't pass, that possibly the teams could leave. But the fact is they're a year and a half early. This does not, the tax doesn't go away for a year and a half. We need that year and a half to look at what really are our options. What do they call maintenance? We believe that there's a strong possibility that this sin tax won't pay any more than a fraction of what's really required. We could be taking this city down the drain. The teams are going nowhere. We are not against breaking our contract with the teams. What we are for is understanding what kind of trouble are we getting ourselves into. We are never going to risk losing our teams.
Peter, we're here on Ohio City, where, Alan, you've got a nightclub, you've got other that there's a lot of good businesses that have popped up around here.
Again, could we?
Yeah, no. So you have some businesses though here in the region. So Peter, what's going to happen if these teams isn't that the whole point of supporting a tax like this? Is that the spillover is going to support neighborhoods like Ohio City here?
Tom, I think that I think the idea that these teams would leave if voters don't approve the sin tax is just completely insane, to be honest. All the voters are asking for, all our group is asking for, is transparency, so that we can have some kind of idea of whether this is a fair deal or not. These are deals that were reached in the 90s in a much different economic climate. And when you're talking about the Browns, Indians, and Cavaliers, you're talking about a public-private partnership. And one of our big concerns is, recently especially, it seems like it's only public when the public has to pay, and it's private when the owners take money out. So we're just looking for some kind of meaningful accounting of what a fair deal is, and transparency. So for the pro-sin tax campaign to suggest that Cleveland, they're called Keep Cleveland Strong, which assumes that we would somehow be weak if we don't approve the sin tax this May, to assume that Cleveland would be weaker if its citizens would somehow demand transparency and a fair deal here just seems outrageous for us, to us. What keeps Cleveland strong to us is its people. and informed, and to have them informed.
Alan, talk about how this group got formed. You started a Facebook page, and it just sort of grew virally here. And you're saying this is one of the first times you guys have actually gotten together was to do this interview?
This is the first time he and I have ever been interviewed. I started this on Facebook because I was just livid with it. I was one of the people that worked for the original 2 sin taxes. And we made commitments and promises that just didn't come true. Now it's really important, before we give these people $300 million more over 20 years, longer than their leases, that we make sure we're not burying our kids. You know, this could hurt the city so tragically. They cannot tell us that this sin tax will provide enough money to even do the maintenance they're talking about. We're in big trouble if we approve this without transparency and without having answers. All I want them to say is, will they guarantee to stay as long as they're asking us to pay the sin tax? And number 2, will they guarantee that the proceeds from this sin tax is what they need and all they need? Or are they going to come back in 5 years more? We think we're in big trouble if we approve this without a whole lot more hard looking.
Well, there's a lot of questions still to remain to be answered. Thank you guys for stepping up as a citizen movement here. Thank you for meeting us out in the cold here and for getting together. Thank you so much, Peter, Alan. It's great talking with you guys.
Cool Cleveland.
Thank you. Could I add something? Just to how we came together. I think, you know, once we realized that this thing was going to be on the ballot, we saw the plain dealer endorsed it. You know, before county council could even put it on the ballot. I think, you know, once Alan started the Facebook group, we saw that there was a lot of passion and a lot of energy behind just the Facebook group of people just asking what was going on. And we saw that there was going to be no formal opposition. So in a way, we're just sort of stepping up to fill a void.
Well, as I say, thank you guys for actually doing that. That's what it's all about. It's what the internet does well, and it's what citizens do really well. Thank you for taking time.
Pro-Cleveland people.
Yes. Thanks for taking time and talking. Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. Have a great week in Cool Cleveland.